Oh, you gotta wait.
That's all right. He can come in and got it, did it. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Approval of the minutes for June 2022.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
A second. Motion second. Oh, notice, we don't do discussion on meeting notes, do we?
You can, I think it's not necessary.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm going to oppose as well as, or not abstain, not oppose, sorry, abstain, sorry, because myself, Matthew and Michael weren't there, which I don't know if you voted or not, Matthew or Michael, but.
I wasn't here last
No,
time.
perfect. Motion, or shoot, I'm so sorry, it's been a month off and I'm forgetting everything. Approval of minutes, move, is done.
We already did.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to get back in my groove of things, sorry about that. Thank you, Debbie. We have an interested citizen, Carol.
I went to the wrong.
Carolyn, come on up.
I didn't even notice.
Sorry about that.
Guess I'm still out of it.
With West Keizer, Carol kind of covers it. I'm Carolyn.
Carolyn.
Representing West Keizer neighborhood, I thought Carol Phipps might be here, but I just wanted to say thanks for the ongoing work at Palmacia. I think some more trees were trimmed up, and so I'm just happy about that. And we do plan to have another work day in the fall, we hope. So it's good to know. And I have a question about the brush clearing at Wallace House. Is that going to happen annually, or because I know they planted some natives there and it looks like they've been kind of mowed down. I mean, the whole lower area was kind of cut again.
Yeah, to answer your question, it's not going to be happening annually on that scale. Unfortunately, this year with two high water events, a lot of debris came into the park, and there was a weed that is toxic to people if they ingest it that has been found growing down there. That was mentioned to council, and so we went ahead and just kind of gave the park a good mow this year to eliminate that hazard. And then from here on forward, our plan is to pretty much do some spot mowing, so not the entire park, but sections of the park to continue to keep it safe. Since we've started this process, we've had virtually zero homeless problems down there, which has been a huge help to both park staff and folks that live in the neighborhood that were having some problems from that. And it's also allowed people to feel safe to go access the river. One thing when you have 6-foot tall reed, canary grass, and blackberries everywhere is you just don't really feel safe to walk through a lot of those areas for good reason. So our plan moving forward is not to mow the entire park yearly, but to do areas of the park and then continue to allow the snowberries. When we mowed them down the first time, within 6 months, they were back up, knee-high, lush. You can't really kill the plant. It's more of it looks a little overkill, I'll say, but really you're pruning it down and it grows right back, which is really nice. So a lot of the natives do come right back. We did do a planting in the swale. I think a couple of those plants we put in did get mowed, but again, we're going to continue to get Jenny and her crew involved with students and kind of make that outfall kind of a showpiece, if you will, in the future. So we can bring classes down and talk to them about how stormwater relates to the river. So yeah, hopefully, I think I answered your question.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. No, I just wondered.
Do we need any projects down there planning on the outflow?
Yeah, I mean, this fall and every year after, I want to continue to do some type of a project down there, just to continue to beautify it and establish plants. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Carolyn. Any other interested citizens? See others out there? Nope. Okay, moving along. New and old business. We are going to review and discuss the conversation regarding an email. I believe, Debbie, did you send out the link to the video regarding the volunteer training?
It is on the website
It is.
for every committee.
Okay, Awesome. So there is a link on, and I can email it out as well, on our website that I'd like for everybody to view. It's the volunteer training that goes over in depth on expectations of us as members of this committee and how to kind of have really good meetings. There were some pieces in it regarding voting that were really, I felt like really helpful as far as being very detailed. I don't think we have any concerns with that, but it's just a really good reminder. Also, talking about park business, making sure that we're present at this meeting versus like having park business happen in the parking lot or different things like that. So what we're saying, making sure that there's video and audio so that members of our community can participate in those conversations. So if I can ask each one of you to log on to that website, and view that, that would be fantastic to help us all be more consistent. And if any of you have any questions, if there's anything that I can help you out with, I will help, or I'll point us in the right direction to get that answered as well. So I will follow up with an email with the link as well, just to make sure that happens, okay? And I was asked to do this by a council member, so this isn't me trying to be like fancy, because obviously I didn't even get the motion of approval on the minutes correct. So I am a work in progress as well. So I just want to own my part.
Can I just tell you, Chair, that I am not offended?
Okay, good. I was worried. Moving along to band approvals for KRA Amphitheater Summer Concert Series. Was everybody able to listen to the Crush Band?
No, you didn't get to listen to it. They don't have a website.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I tried to find them on
Yeah.
YouTube, and I couldn't
I
find
did too,
anything.
and that's why I have the note there.
Okay.
Brian Lee is the president of Rotary, and so I talked to him, and he's an old guy like me, and so he's into the 60s.
He's well-versed,
Yes,
knowledgeable,
yeah.
okay?
I never thought of
Not
Brian
into
Lee
heavy
as a
metal,
business.
hard rock, punk rock, rapping, any of that. This is your typical 60s, 70s, and 80s.
So what I'm
music.
hearing
you don't have
is-
any music to listen to.
So what
They're
I'm
a cover
hearing is
band.
that you're feeling confident
Yeah,
with this.
they're good.
Okay, there we go. So,
They have my recommendation.
Could you give me some names of some bands that they cover?
I think he said the Eagles
Simon
and,
and Garfunkel.
well, and I don't think he said Simon and Garfunkel, a little more
Okay.
upbeat than them, even though I really like them.
Right.
But Eagles, let's see,
Yanni,
maybe
Michael
some
Bolton.
Journey.
those are good.
Boston.
You know, you kind of
Boston.
get that, can you, I mean, just.
Is there any
do it up-
Toto?
Huh?
Is there any Toto?
Any Toto? No, I don't know if there was any Toto, no, but there, might be Pure Prairie.
I think with you
Kansas.
saying Eagles is a
Yeah,
good enough
good.
motion
Yeah.
to move forward with.
This
So,
time of
Throw
year,
some
you
Journey
miss
in
the
there.
Ravens.
right, Journey,
Yeah.
right. Yes.
I mean, that's my era, so.
Counselor Starr?
Where do they currently play?
I don't know that they have any gigs anywhere. I think that he works closely with Clint, and I think he got to fill a vacancy that Clint couldn't fill with any other bands. But the
So-
upside of that is they have their own sound equipment, which is one of the drawbacks for some of when he's searching for bands. They've got to have their own sound equipment because he doesn't have that at the amphitheater.
So where do they play then if they don't have any gigs? And how are we vetting them?
Has it been, I know that this is very uncommon, because commonly we do have a listening option, and that's pretty easy. So is there a way that we can postpone this? And because we don't have that option, because it is a pretty big venue. So I echo the concern that's been brought up.
If you don't approve, he will have a blank for July 30th because you don't meet again.
Right.
But in Clint's defense, you have approved over 20 bands. You have never disapproved any of them.
Right.
They've always been good. They may not be as, some of them are more professional than others, but none of them are offensive.
Okay,
I know Brian. He's a fantastic ambassador for the city. I don't think he'd put anything up that's subpar. That's just not his standard. I mean, everything that he does, he's an artist, he's a fantastic photographer. Like, I have full faith in this, that they can come out. I mean, plus it's probably a lot of local people that are in the band, which I think is great, right? Because I mean, it's good that we're bringing in folks from all over, but if we can get a, Keizer group, even if it's just Brian, it's still a Keizer person that's coming in and doing it. So, I mean, if they're not great, then they just won't come back.
But they've been approved now for our list, though.
If we approve
Okay,
it, yeah.
if we approve it, okay.
But
Is this a quality
I
thing that
think
we're
that's
concerned
my
about?
concern. Right, you approve it and you haven't vetted it, it's now on the list
Right.
and can be used year after. It's nothing against Brian, I'm concerned about process from the beginning. And I'm concerned about how does this fit in with the contract requirements?
I think Clay had a comment, but I also heard Matt. Did you want to respond to that, or can I go to Clay?
no, I think Counselor Starr brings up a great point, because I don't know that.
How do you remove somebody?
No, it's even just more fundamental than that. Like, what are our requirements for approving bands, right? I mean, because we've had other times where we've just had links, and I can guarantee you probably 90% of the people haven't looked at them.
Right, right.
I'm guilty of that myself, because
Yep.
I've seen the band before, right? So I don't know, under the auspices of what we're required to do as a board, like, is there a checklist of, okay, we have to do this, we have to affirm this, or is this purely subjective?
Purely subjective. I will say, if you're concerned about them being remarkably bad and you don't want them to come back, you might approve them just for this particular
That's what I was suggesting.
event.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll bring them back if they come back another time. But then you'll have all heard them, or at least you'll be able to talk to some people who have.
Follow up though, and I think Councilor Starr brought it up, is this adding at this juncture of the year, is this within the scope of the contract?
That was brought up at the last meeting by the mayor, and I have my same response. That's legal's purview, and they are the ones that, it's none of my business. If they say it's okay to approve them, then, and they say this is okay to be on the agenda, which they get copies of every agenda for every meeting.
Okay.
And if there was something wrong, they would come to me and say, hey, nope, it's too late, can't get that on there.
Right.
So that's what they say, it's okay, then it's okay with me.
Clay, anything?
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is just more of a quality concern versus a content concern, and also process. However, in the situation that we're in, there'll be a blank date. I think, speaking as a citizen for 20 plus years, I would rather have a Keizer resident and their band perform, and possibly at the worst case scenario be subpar than what they may have come to see, and that's okay. But I think it would be just as enjoyable, and I think having nothing would be far worse. So I based on Matt's recommendation, that he's seen some of his prior work,
I haven't.
granted not with music,
Right.
that tells a lot about an individual. I would be for it, for this one time.
With that, is there a motion that you'd like to place on the table?
I move that we approve the Crush Band for the Keizer Rapids Amphitheater.
For July 30th, is that what it was
You
for?
want to do it for just one time?
I was not going to do it for just one time,
So the
but if somebody wants to make an amendment, that would be an option. Right.
So that motion on the table is to approve the Crush Band for the amphitheater. And I have a second, and now we can discuss.
I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to approve it for this year, but also request that we get some kind of clarification on the process. I think it's important, because I think it's kind of been perfunctory. And so I don't know if that's necessarily directly related to the motion, but maybe it's just a follow-up discussion. But my friendly amendment would be to approve for 1 year. And then in discussion, if we can have a follow-up, even if it's just an email, Debbie, with a copy of what the requirements are for selecting the bands. I think that would be sufficient.
So the friendly amendment for you to consider would be this for this year.
I'm amenable to that.
Okay, so,
And David needs to be also.
and you are good to go? Okay. So the motion, or, sorry, the friendly, or how do I put all that
Go ahead,
together?
you can restate the motion.
Yes, the motion is to approve the Crush Band at the amphitheater for this year. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Say no. We passed it.
And I will look, the original band approvals were with KFAB,
Right.
the Festival Advisory Board. So I will look and see to make sure that they, I think there may be some kind of criteria in their documents that will give you a little more guidance.
And I think if,
Matt, oh, sorry.
if for nothing else, I think it just helps clarify, if it meets the legal sufficiency in terms of the scope of the contract. I think it's just helpful for us, because we're making a recommendation ultimately to council. Council is going to choose whether or not they're going to allow this to happen, correct?
No, this doesn't go, this is,
Oh, okay.
this is
Just us.
It ends here.
It's all you guys. It doesn't come to us at all.
Oh, when you said the mayor, I was thinking it happened in council meeting. It happened here. That's right.
Yeah.
Jane?
I just wanted to say I've already emailed a request for a review of the process and to make sure everything's in line with the contract.
Great.
So,
That will be helpful in communication to us.
I think Brian's just going to do great. I know, I understand. I have a
Okay.
process to work. I love process.
It helps with clarity. Let's see, Parks report. I am up first. Country Glen looks fantastic. I did, that first step onto the play set is kind of raised a bit. And I think that there might have been something installed lower, but it maybe is broken off, but it's a pretty good step to get up on that playground. I was thinking maybe some extra bark chips. I know that doesn't last, kids will kick that, but I think for safety, if we can load it up underneath there, we can bring it forward to be helpful. And then that little round thing, I don't even want to bring it up to you, but the front round thing by the front step is broken right now. So I don't know. I know that is a common damaged item. It's easy to break those, I think, maybe. Anyways, Northview also looks wonderful. So nice work keeping up with trash. Been to certain sites, I think that Gwen mentioned too, just picking up trash because there is so much usage on these hot days. So nice work with your team.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, you have the Parks report for Gwen.
Yes, right here.
Okay.
Yep. And Gwen, thank you so much for typing these. Claggett Creek, she went on the morning of the 11th, which was after a really hot weekend. And I think she said that the trash was pretty overwhelming. She probably saw the worst there. It's one of our most used parks too. I'm assuming that your team has been there since then that afternoon and picked all that up. Yeah, I agreed. Other than that, looked really well. Bob Newton it also had a lot of usage. She said that she saw 10 to 15 year old people at the tennis court playing pickleball. No, a lot of people playing pickleball, sorry. Playground kids were playing, couldn't stop to check out house because there was no parking. So it was completely loaded, which is great. And I walk by there all the time. It looks fantastic. Thanks for fixing the tennis court net. Yes?
No.
It didn't get done.
A
So
volunteer
I'm just, perfect. It got done though. Wow, awesome. Okay, thank you, Gwen. David,
Northridge is still not used and undeveloped. And Hidden Creek looks just fine.
Katie,
Meadows looks great. It was packed when I was there on Monday midday or so it was really, really busy. But there wasn't like a lot of trash or anything. I did walk around. I did check the walkway to the street because I think you had said that there might have been some tagging going on in there, and I didn't see anything, so not noticing any of that, so that's nice. And then Ben Miller looked great today. I actually drove by there at lunch today, and it's also very busy, and so looking good.
Some, Lisa.
All right. Well, Ryan J. Hill looks good. I mean, I've been by there a few times in the last couple of months, and it always is clean. It's always, fairly sparsely attended. And then Willamette Manor looks good. It's mowed. The new trees are doing really well. If I wanted to complain at all, in the play area, those bark chips or whatever they are, they're pretty low. Like, a lot of them have disappeared since the last time it got filled up. So there's a pretty big step. Oh, okay. So, and I was wondering about the porta potty at Willamette Manor, because it's up against the property line instead of on the concrete pad where it was at previous times. So it
Oh,
just seemed
checking it out.
like an odd placement,
I agree.
because I don't know that I'd like to live in that house. Okay, Keizer Rapid Park, any?
Well, I have a question. What time do the good bathrooms open? Like, I don't know how to put that in a nicer way.
The plumbed
I don't know
bathrooms.
exactly right now. Should be between 7 and 8 a.m.
Okay, because it's just in the morning at 5:30, it's sun's risen, there's lots of people out, and I see people go over there and try to get into the bathrooms.
Yeah,
And they can't because it's locked.
right. Okay, we can,
So-
we're, there's a fine line between providing the service of having the bathrooms open
Right.
and having them closed at strategic hours when
Right,
kids
vandalism.
and homeless people like to get in there and sleep. So,
True.
we're trying to figure out where that,
It feels like the morning
Mark
is
is.
that's less of a problem
I agree.
than in the evening, but, yeah,
I can see
no.
about opening it earlier.
Okay. And I just know that you would have to probably change that was the times, as it gets darker in the morning.
Yeah, originally that was set up to lock and unlock based on daylight. But we were finding, especially in the evenings, it was not locking soon enough. And we were paying the price from that. So we went back to just setting it manually. So, but yeah,
And-
we should be able to get it open a lot
Okay.
earlier.
Thank you.
Yeah, no
And
problem.
it looks like somebody spray painted the Rotary's concession stand.
Oh, yeah.
That same day, all the other things that I emailed you about. And there was something else. I don't remember.
Do you want me to bring up the concerns about the motor vehicles here or in other business? Because it kind of correlates with
Whatever
this.
you
So
want.
just,
Right now.
you disclosed that you had seen an observation of some motorized scooters on one of the social media groups that I'm on. They also disclosed some concerns about motorized scooters or vehicles. I don't think they're vehicles, but motorized items, whatever, buzzing through the pathways, and people are like jumping out of the way and like walking their toddlers down there. So future safety concerns, or the recommendation was more posting of that no vehicles can be, I don't know if that's going to be a deterrent. I don't know if, do we just call non-emergency when that happens? What would be the recommendation from you?
I would recommend calling non-emergency, because it could be a safety issue, especially when you have, I mean, they're going fast. The ones I saw last week were going probably 35, 40 miles an hour,
Yeah.
full throttle, at dusk. So, yeah, we could put more signs up. My experience with signs lately has been they get ripped down and thrown in the bushes.
Yeah.
So, I'm
Okay.
not saying that's not an option, it's just lately it has not been a good option.
Well, I think that I can respond to kind of calling non-emergency,
Yeah.
having people take more action in those situations. So, okay. Any other report outs on Keizer Rapids?
Some of the trees are past passing away.
In the
Like-
forest?
No, in the Arboretum.
Oh, yeah.
Like the
There's-
little weeping, that little tiny weeping green Japanese maple.
Yeah, I made contact with Rotary and let them know that there was a few trees that died. A couple died this winter, 2 more died this spring. They're aware of them. They plan on replacing those this fall
Okay.
when the weather is not so hot. And just so everybody knows, in case you didn't, that is a Rotary project.
Oh, okay.
They maintain it, they replace trees, they plant new trees. They adopted that, so, yep.
I do want to offer a thought, and it may not necessarily be popular, but there's been a lot of dialogue out there in social media land about Keizer Rapids, and particularly about the big toy, and, you know, a lot of accusations being thrown out against you and your team, which I find extremely frustrating, and also just kind of lacks a tremendous amount of knowledge, in my opinion. I think that what you are dealing with is a lack of accountability by people that are choosing to go down and use these facilities and destroy them with absolute disregard for the other parks that you have to deal with and the other communities that have nice parks. The time that you and your staff are taking to have to go clean up debris, clean up watermelons out there on the big toy when it's closed, is time that's taken away from parks like Wallace House and Palma Sia and things like that. And I think that it's just really, really unfortunate that people are choosing not to have that accountability, both for themselves, but also their peers, for their children. And I think this body worked really, really hard along with the city council to get to a point where we can make our parks better and nicer and add more amenities. And it's just, it's a little bit frustrating, frankly. And I take it a little bit personally, frankly, when I hear or I see things on Facebook where people are making all these sort of comments and statements and, you know, the city should know better and they're all, you know, stop. Because frankly, your staff work extremely hard to try to keep these things very nice. And ultimately, all it takes is somebody with a little bit of, you know, wherewithal to see something that's going on and say, look, you shouldn't do that, right? We have the most amazing police force, and if, you know, somebody's not responding, give the cops a call. And you know what? The cops aren't going to come down there and arrest them. They're going to have a conversation with them. And they're going to educate them on how to properly treat things. And it's causing fiscal damage, right? These are not small things that are happening, and it's to the point where, you know, it's getting really, really frustrating. These shade sales should have lasted for decades, and what did they last, 2 seasons? Because people chose to allow or otherwise ignore the fact that children were climbing all over these shade sails and destroying them. There's kids rollerblading inside, roller skating inside the big toy area. Like, this is not the Keizer way of doing things. And so I would just hope that people take a minute. We're excited to be back out in the world, but take a minute, look at your values a little bit, and if you see something, just be willing to have a conversation. And if you don't feel like confronting somebody, guess what? Call non-emergency. If it's during the day, call the parks department and say, hey, this is a behavior we're observing at the parks. Take some ownership of it, because otherwise it's just going to keep costing more and more money, and it's going to take away from, I think, the unique opportunities we have in our city. And so I don't mean to get off on a tangent. Like, I just really hope that people will get away from their keyboards a little bit and actually get into the world and be part of it, right? Just frustrating. Like, just last, you know, I was telling Robert just a couple weeks ago, I was down there helping out with one of the concerts and closing up the gate at the end of the night. And there's people out there doing donuts and racing around the boat ramp. You know, I get it. You're young, you want to go have fun, you want to do those things, but when you're tearing things up, that's just, you know. And, you know, I went down there and I said, hey, how y'all doing? Oh, good, we're getting out of here. And I said, good, have a good night. You know, but just that little bit of an older guy presence kind of woke him up to what was going on. And I wasn't rude to him, I just said, hey, how's it going, right? So I just encourage people to, you know, take care of your stuff, take care of your city, take care of the people around you. We got the best staff. Call them if you see something going on. But I think Robert would rather get the phone call that, hey, somebody's down here doing something at the park, they're not supposed to be doing, than getting the phone call that, hey, there's a broken piece of equipment here. And not only now is it gonna cost money to fix that, but you're also putting people at risk. So, I'm done, sorry.
I heard a call to action, not
Yeah.
a rant, so I appreciate that. Okay, staff report, back to you, Robert.
Yeah, thanks, Matt, for that. I do agree with a lot of what you just said. Parks are being used a lot lately. Seems like the more we build, the more they're used, which is awesome. Love to see it. But yeah, some of the ornery behavior is really starting to stack up on us, that's for sure. I don't know if everybody noticed, but mosaic artwork is being finished as we speak out front. I know that project's something that everybody's been waiting for a while. It was delayed, but it is happening and it looks very good. I encourage you all to go out and take a look at that this evening once we get out of the meeting and see what you think. Big toy update. Shade sail posts are going to be reinstalled tomorrow. That was delayed from the steel company extending them. Something happened. There was a big delay. They're finally coming to get installed, and then our staff will be working on replacing the rubber around those posts as quick as possible. Our plan right now is to be down there Thursday morning, pouring the rubber, fall protection, and then hopefully keep kids out for 2 full days while that cures, and then hopefully open it Saturday morning if everything goes as planned. As soon as we know that everything is gone as planned, we will be posting that on our website and our social media pages just to let the public know that it's ready to go. Multiple times I go down there a day and kick people out that just won't stay out of there. They jump the chain, they break the caution tape, they throw the barricades in the bushes. I've had some really hard conversations with parents that don't really seem to care and almost refuse to leave. Just crazy. But we're doing what we can do, and we just keep at it and keep having the conversations. String lighting at the amphitheater. I know the lighting has been talked about recently there. The lights have been ordered. They should be delivered to either today or tomorrow. We should have them in hand, and our staff will be working on getting those installed as quick as possible. Probably not by this weekend, but hopefully by the following concert. We should have those up so that as daylight begins to get shorter and people are trying to exit the area in the dark, at least the general area of the amphitheater should be a lot better lit. Lower field project near the boat ramp by the river. Everybody's been talking about that. So the contractor is finished installing the irrigation system. It's watering 4 times a day right now. The hydro seed's been laid and most of the grass seed is germinating as we speak. That'll be closed for a couple more weeks while that grass gets established. And once we mow it a couple times, we'll take the fencing down and open it to the public to use for the remainder of the summer. So that'll be nice. And the splash fountain is open currently from on Wednesday through Sunday from noon to 7. Our staff's been working on that. This temporary employee who was operating that is no longer doing that for us, so we're seeking a new one. Hopefully get somebody trained up. So right now our staff is just juggling that back and forth, trying to keep it running the best we can while we're doing everything else. And lastly, Palmacia Park. It was mentioned earlier by Carolyn. We did have more trees pruned down there in the upper area, just off the parking lot, where we plan on having kind of a picnic area. And I met with an Eagle Scout down there today and looked at doing a new trail down the embankment so that the public could have better river access. Right now, the trails that were built years ago are falling apart and they're really not that safe. We have lined out a new route so it doesn't have any switchbacks. It'll be a nice gradual trail going down the hillside diagonal. I think I'm really excited about it. It's going to be awesome. It'll take off just near the bench that we installed and go down, and the lower landing will be similar area to the existing lower landing of the old trail, but it won't have any switchbacks to it. So I'm very excited about that. Timeline on that project, hopefully have that wrapped up sometime in September. So I have a great Eagle Scout lined out, and he's very excited to do that as well. So that is all I have.
I have a question about the Keizer Rapids Park lighting. I don't remember, did we have a conversation about that happening?
Yeah.
Or did it
It was
get
just
approved?
mentioned.
Or, yeah.
I think it was mentioned here, but it was more of a conversation kind of at the mayor, council, me level, so.
We reported it out last week.
Oh, and I wasn't here. It's my fault.
I mean, I
know,
wasn't
it's my
gonna
fault.
say that.
Okay.
I was just letting her know.
Okay, I know. She just held me accountable. That's what that
I'm
was.
just
No,
letting
I'm
you know.
okay. You're right. I wasn't here. I missed it. I'm so sorry. Okay, Counselor Starr.
I think I got the faulty one, the button is.
Oh, of course.
That's okay. It's all good. So thank you, Matt, for your thoughts. It was much more of a graceful discussion than my day after 4th of July meltdown that I had. It wasn't a meltdown, but it was emotional, and I was frustrated the day after the 4th of July at the city council meeting. So thank you for your thoughts on accountability. It was much more eloquent than mine. The second thing, I just wanted to echo and kind of build off of what Matt said, Robert, to you and the park staff. I know there's been issues that have been brought forward about safety issues at the parks and vandalism and so forth. And every time one's been brought forward, your staff's addressed it like that same day or within a day. So thank you for that. A hornet's nest, the toxic poisonous weeds, all of the things, so thank you. Interesting conversation about kind of Matt, you're talking about the accountability and the vandalism and so forth. I actually had a conversation with Lieutenant Copeland this afternoon about revitalizing an old project that can hopefully help address some of those issues and give tools to help hold people accountable. So we'll have more on that hopefully if we can move that project forward. So this is all a timely conversation. I know that by the time it's done, it might not help this year, but hopefully we can get things in line to help with accountability of vandalism and things. So the other thing I wanted to bring up, again, more of an account, like to your question about like the motorized modes of transportation that might not belong in a park. Somehow people have found out that they have a city councilor that lives in their neighborhood, in my neighborhood. And so I've been the recipient of some concerns brought forward about dogs off leash in our city parks. So I know I'm probably not bringing up a brand new subject, but I think it's, again, perhaps will coincide with the conversations that I'm having with Lieutenant Copeland about how we can address some of those issues. Again, it goes back to accountability. The issues and concerns that were brought to me were actual safety issues of dogs off leash lunging at people and parents with little kids and things like that. So we know who the culprit is, so and where the concerns lie, so we'll be addressing that in the appropriate manner. But I just think, again, it goes to your request and your call to action for people to take responsibility, look at your values, and think about what kind of community you want to live in. I think my words the day after the 4th of July were a little more harsh, so I apologize to anybody watching. City council updates. I think the biggest issue probably that people are wondering about is the council elected to not put the service fee on the ballot for the public library, moving to a public library. So if anybody has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer those. So feel free. I will honestly answer all questions. I think that's probably the biggest update I have from ourselves, from council. I can tell you the Community Diversity Engagement Committee took a vote yesterday to make a recommendation to the council to ask staff, and that was a very complicated, but that was the motion, to ask staff to look into developing a process for displaying flags, a variety of different flags here at City Hall. So that was just yesterday, so that'll go before the City Council within the next few meetings. So I think that is all that I have.
Any questions for our counselor? Counselor Stark, yeah?
When you say flags, what are you referring to?
You know, if somebody, I think the biggest example that was used yesterday at the Community Diversity Engagement Committee was the request to fly the Pride, say that 3 times fast, fly the Pride flag along with the other flags at City Hall, so. And then whatever else that comes with, that. It's not just that one, but there could be others, so asking staff to work on that.
Moving on to other business. I have other business. I'll go first. Okay, sweet. I don't know why I say we. I always have people with me, so I just say we all the time. I am wanting to visit a potential park site, and I started this conversation a while ago, but it's our Burnside location. It's a Keizer-owned property along the river, not too far away from Keizer Rapids, but there's a pretty significant residential area, but it's riverfront property. There's a public works shed on it where they store items. However, pump station, and I think it could be a viewing point. I'm not saying that it would be a big park, but I would like to look at the property to see if that's something that we want to consider. And I brought that question a while ago, and we tried to schedule, but I think it's really important, as Robert mentioned in the email to me, is that we want to be inclusive of everyone so that we can have a discussion. And then there's obviously tons of process pieces that I'm not aware of that we'll need to do if we are interested in going down that route. But I just wanted to see if there was interest and if we could figure out a time to do that that would work for everybody.
I'm still.
Yes, right.
When's our next parks for September?
August 9th.
August 9th.
That's what I'm thinking.
Would that be something that we could do?
It's August
That's what I'm
9th.
wondering. I asked him. He
Yeah.
knows more than I do.
Our parks tour is August 9th.
No, the parks tour is not until September.
Oh, we're gonna talk about it on the
We will
ninth.
talk about it.
Got it. Okay, I was like, wait a minute.
So the other thing would be, would there need to be a pre-discussion before we did something like
I
that?
asked the question before we commit to that.
Okay.
Because it's not a park yet.
Right,
We'd
nope,
have to do a master
it's just a
plan
piece of
then.
property owned by Keizer.
Right next.
Let me ask the
That-
question if
that-
that'd be appropriate to be on the parks tour,
Okay.
because it's not a park.
You're right,
Although you're looking at it to possibly be a potential park.
right, and everyone at the parks tour would be, we would want to talk to about that opportunity, so it would be a good selling point
Yeah.
to see it.
And that's a public meeting, so we're not creating a serial conversation, right?
Well, Kaiser Times could be there and
Yeah.
whatnot,
So
but
it is publicly noticed.
But-
just don't-
It's a work
Yeah.
session, yeah.
Right.
May I ask the size of the area? Is there a known size of the area?
probably an acre or less. It's not
Okay.
huge.
But it's
don't
not, absolutely tiny either. Okay.
It's very similar size to Palmacia Park.
It's got nice grass.
And the reason I'm bringing it forward is it's river access, or it's river viewing. So I just
Right.
know that part of the master plan was access to that. I don't know, again, if we would be able to access at that point, but if you could do a bench or a viewing, it just, the land isn't being maximized, and it's gorgeous there. So that was my
Right.
only thought.
Then it's a westward view.
Right.
That's the pump house, right?
Yeah, the pump house. It's called Burnside.
At the August meeting.
It's the one that's close to Hunt's house.
It's 1.59 acres.
I was just looking at it.
So what would you like to do?
I can follow up with an email, letting you guys know if that would be appropriate or not. And then if it is, then at the next meeting, you can select that as being one of your sites that you view. Because I am actually not going to be at the next meeting.
Okay.
But I will follow up with you well before that, so you have an answer moving into that vote.
Okay, so if it isn't approved to be added to the Parks meeting, can I email this team?
Yes,
And then-
similar to last time.
Okay.
And we can go take a look.
Okay.
That
It won't
part's
be
already been-
a public meeting, though? It
No.
would just be us looking at it, seeing it, and then coming back to the August meeting and then discussing it in the public meeting? Okay. Not difficult at all.
That's 3 parcels.
Matt, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say, welcome to Adam Brown, new city manager. It's great to have him in the audience. Probably doesn't like being called out, but I don't care. Great to have you here, Adam. Nice to see you. That's it. I just wanted to say hi, Adam.
Awesome. Well, we are, just kidding, following up with you. Add it in. Katie, July 18th, are you set to go? Okay. And we are going to end at 6:45. Ooh, just kidding. I see a gesture that we won't be ending at 6:45. Go right ahead. Come on up.
I should have thought of this a little earlier, but I just want to update the Parks Committee on the turf fields at Keizer Rapids. And Lisa, is that your park? So
It's all of our park.
It's
Or is it
everybody's
everybody's?
part.
It's
but
Lisa, like.
what I
also
wanted to
takes up-
But I
do is
love it.
invite, if somebody from the Parks Committee wants to join us for those stakeholder meetings, I can be happy to add you to the list. We had a stakeholder meeting yesterday, and it was so exciting. We had great participation from all the sporting groups in the community. The rugby, softball, soccer, women's football, and the 2 neighborhoods that are nearest to it, and the engineers. And it was just extremely positive, no competitiveness between the groups.
Great.
And everybody was just thrilled. It was exciting. These are the projects that make the other 90% of the stuff I do worthwhile.
Nice.
So if anybody from the Parks Committee wants to join that stakeholder group, I'll add them to the listserv. And what we have is benchmarks that will be coming back to that stakeholder group to update, get feedback. I mean, we took a lot of notes, and we've learned a lot on our own, but then meeting together, we keep learning and learning and learning.
Wonderful. David, I saw your hand raised.
Do it.
Okay.
Please have David join, and then you can report back.
If I can remember that long.
Uh-oh. Thanks for volunteering.
Well, if he doesn't reply, I could be second.
So David and Lisa, that would be great. Thank you so much.
No.
Nope. Okay.
That's my question.
We're ending at 6:47.